Hello, welcome in. Welcome everyone. I see our numbers are slowly rising, waiting for everyone to join. Thanks for taking some time today. We're really looking forward to this webinar and chatting with all of you. Thanks so much for joining. We'll give everyone a few more seconds to come in so we can get started. Hi everyone, welcome. Thanks for joining. Awesome. Thanks again for joining everyone. We're really happy to have you all on this webinar today. United Planet programs help NSHSS members develop as global citizens, and we're excited to give you a snapshot into some root causes as to why we do what we do and how you can be involved in creating solutions. We're also happy to share more about travel and virtual quest programs available to you and share why you should consider joining these programs and being a certifiable global citizen leader while developing your skills and gaining knowledge into environmental justice and so much more. So welcome to our webinar on sustainable agriculture, environmental awareness, and more summer opportunities abroad this year. I'm the Director of International Programs, Elissa, and I'll be joined by Eduardo and supported by Sophia in the chat. I am Elissa, the Director of International Programs at United Planet. United Planet has been making volunteer service learning opportunities available for 21 years now, and I have been a part of these since 2015 as a volunteer and student leader liaison, and for the past 5 years as a volunteer coordinator, assisting and advising students like you, working with groups and classes of travelers, high school and at the university level. And I've had the pleasure to travel to about 15 countries across the world, learning and volunteering and having so much fun. I haven't yet had the opportunity to visit Brazil, maybe soon, but in Vietnam and Germany, I was fortunate to meet Eduardo Fortes Santos and learn about the work he and his wife Miriam, who started as a volunteer herself, are doing primarily in the south of Brazil to support families and communities, most recently related to agriculture and sustainable farming. So hi, Eduardo. If you want to say a quick hello, we're really excited to have you join us and to be able to hear from your experience and your expertise with the International Cultural Youth Exchange of Brazil and the Change Program. So we're going to talk about sustainable agriculture, environmental awareness, and summer opportunities for traveling and online. The first step in understanding why this is all relevant and why you should be involved. So we'll dive into why environmental sustainability is a global shared challenge, the one that should be the main focus of everyone right now. And understanding this will definitely unite us to make impactful changes together as a global community. And United Planet, with international friends in 48 plus countries, including Kenya and Eduardo and Brazil, will help you understand and address this global disparity and unlock your potential as a global citizen for a sustainable world. We're almost ready to dig in, but I wanted you to hear from Mercy, who couldn't join us given the time difference, but she felt it so important to hear from the perspective of an African national about why environmental sustainability is a paramount global shared challenge.
Hello, my name is Mercy from Nairobi, Kenya. Environmental sustainability is a global shared challenge because ecological processes are not limited to our national borders, and the problems in our environment are felt and recorded simultaneously on a global scale. Now more than ever, thanks to technology, virtual global connection is easier than it has ever been. So not only are we able to exchange ideas, share stories, share results of research, etc., in real time, but we also have the opportunity to amplify individual actions that promote environmental sustainability and to strengthen the partnerships, global partnerships that are geared towards the same without harming the environment. So, yeah.
So much thanks to Mercy for sharing her perspective. Mercy's testimony helps to really illuminate the impact each person's actions have on everyone else in the world. In the chart above, you will see on the horizontal axis, the world biocapacity, which measures the impact a country has on the world's environment. On the vertical axis is the human development scale. This can be generalized as a depiction of a country's wealth, access, and utilization of their resources, and basic needs assessment. A country with a high human development index, such as the United States, typically contributes more negative impacts into the environment, unfortunately, which is why the blue dot at the top right is where it is. Whereas Kenya, where Mercy is from, is considered a low development country and a low contributor to negatives such as carbon and greenhouse gas emissions. These points on the graph are not independent of each other. These are representative of countries, cities, communities, people. It's almost as if one is because the other is, or better said, I am because we are, right, Eduardo? And maybe you can share a bit more about that.
So, hi everyone, I'm Eduardo from Brazil. Copacabana is like 2,000 kilometers north from us. I'm from the south of Brazil, Rio Grande do Sul. And my wife and I, we started this project like 2 years ago in the beginning of the pandemic. And it's in a very poor neighborhood in our city. And our city is called Alvorada, Sunrise, beautiful name, but sad history. And it's the poorest city in the south of Brazil. And now if we go to the next slide. And basically we work with agriculture. So this is how usually people live in this part of the city. So here what we see was like an old hut that was destroyed. And so that's the way we found the lots that we purchased to have our urban gardening. And then if we go to the next slide. So we clean the area and then we start what we call agroforesting. And basically the idea is to grow organic food because in poor countries, usually people who have money have access to organic food and people who don't have money, they eat basically poison food because it's much cheaper. Next slide. And we started that like 1 year ago. We cleaned this area. And nowadays, currently, it looks like the next slide. So this is the change you can see, right? It was, we started like September last year, and that's how it looks right now. So we grow, you can go to the next slide. So we grow corn, manioc, sweet potato, and other vegetables, pumpkin, and so on. And what is interesting is that we work basically with the whole community, but most of the ones who work with us, they are little children, young age, and they learn, you can go to the next, and they learn how to grow their own food. And that is very interesting for us because they follow the whole process right? And we also have income generating program, like for the women in the community. They learn how to make these bricks. They are basically just clay, sand, and water, and they are paid for that work. And everything we use in the project is like natural materials, right? And so you see the little one there painting. It's a non-toxic ink and paint. So we can go to the next. And so we have already produced like more than 10,000 of these bricks called adobe. And the way we build, it's like an old technique that has been used all over the world for like thousands of years now. And everyone can have a hand and learn how to do it. So here we have the children helping us. We use bamboo basically, and then clay, and we have all these bottles because bottles here in the south of Brazil, they are not recycled like glass bottles. And usually they are just thrown away. Next one. Yeah, and here we were building accommodation for future exchanges, volunteers who will come to work with us, right? And then everyone is working. You can see one of our volunteers, Michelle, she's from Switzerland, and she's giving us a helping hand. And that was the day that we first used our kitchen to cook for the whole community. Next one. Well, in the beginning, so children and adults, they were paid for their jobs, for whatever they did there. And then we realized that most, not most, but some people like alcoholic parents or drug addict, they were instead of buying food for their children, they were using to buy alcohol or drugs, this money. And then we decided to create our own currency. And then we create this UBT, that's basically Ubuntu. And then people come and work, and for 1 hour, they get 10 of these unities. And then at the end of the week, we count how many hours they have worked, and they can exchange that for whatever they want. There you have like, I don't know, rice, oil, corn, pasta, sauce, sugar, beans, and so on, right? And this was a very important and successful change because now people come, even children. Of course, what they do basically is like watering the plants and helping in some activities. But at the end of the week, we can count like how many hours they have been there and done something. And then they can choose their own food. And children can also get toys and clothes in exchange for their work. Next slide. And nowadays, we like every Saturday, we have lunch for everybody in the community. Here you see basically children and teenagers, and everything we cooked comes from our garden, right? We have rice, beans, and of course, rice we buy somewhere else from the landless movement here in the city. And we have manioc and sweet potato and so on. Next slide. And what is interesting is like most of these children, they eat or they have a meal just when they come to the project. Most of them, they don't have anything to eat at home. So they come in the morning, they have breakfast, and then in the afternoon, they also have something to eat after school. And then on Saturdays, like adults and children have the lunch. So here you see our little Lua. Yeah, how happy he is for harvesting his own food And that's one of the other girls. That's sweet potato leaves. They can also be cooked and eaten. And it's really interesting to see how happy these children are nowadays, that they see like the whole process, that they can grow their own food, and it's organic food. It's fantastic. I think basically that was it. I think we don't have another slide.
Oh, that's the last photo. Thank you so much, Eduardo. And just to kind of tie everything together, might you answer the question, why do you think this environmental justice is such a priority issue for our world right now?
Yeah, so when we talk in the project about, we don't talk much about climate change, because climate change is a fact, it's there, and it's affecting us. And what we talk most is about climate justice, because we are the ones, like in poor countries in the global south or underdeveloped countries, we are the ones who are suffering the most with the climate change. A climate change that was basically not caused by us, but we suffer the consequences. But at the same time, we are all connected. For example, now I'm wearing this clothes, but it shouldn't be that cold, and it's something very uncommon. Like in Brazil, we are not famous for having snow. And last week we had snow here, not for long, but it's something very uncommon. And things have been happening, just like also now in the United States, right? And in the global north, the changes are clear. But the ones who will suffer most are exactly people like us here in poor countries. So I think everything is connected.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Eduardo, for sharing. And I hope you'll be able to stay around and maybe answer some questions in the chat or at the end. Like you said, there are so many connections with everyone across the world. Many countries in the world still have very low per capita CO2 emissions, and many of the poorest countries in sub-Saharan Africa, including Chad, Niger, and the Central African Republic, the average footprint is around 0.1 tons per year. That's more than 160 times lower than the US, Australia, and Canada. In just 2.3 days, the average American or Australian emits as much as the average Malayan or Nigerian, West African person in country in a year. So what you do or don't do in relation to the environment affects others. And it's time we understood our responsibility for each other. Low-income countries and the poor are disproportionately affected by these impacts, as Eduardo was saying. And environmental problems are the main distributional conflict of the 21st century. You see this in droughts, heat waves, harvest loss, which are more frequent and serious, especially in low development countries. And of course, climate change, land use and biodiversity laws are central issues affecting us all. So just as the weather is changing in Brazil, this is apparent to me, especially as a New Orleans, Louisiana native, where we are unfortunately used to hurricanes and flooding, but are now getting these low cold temperatures, having the snow that we're not necessarily used to, having tornadoes and landmass decrease exponentially. Just to give you a sense of the countries with the highest emissions, you can see the top 10 here. These are also very highly populated, densely populated, highly developed, perhaps overdeveloped countries who are emitting the most negative effects versus our countries with the lowest emissions, which are the lowest 10 here. And just to show you in comparison from our guests today from Brazil and Kenya to represent within the chart where they sit as well. Net deficits or reserves are caused by a variety of natural conditions and consumption patterns. Globally, biocapacities are decreasing or stagnating while environmental use is increasing. So based on the biological footprint and human development index graph that we saw and the CO2 emission review, you can kind of see a little bit more clearly with this map how countries fall right in line as being deficient or within a reserve. Now, in 2015, the UN unanimously adopted the 2030 Agenda. It was negotiated by a group of 70 developing and industrialized countries. And it's great to see as a political globe, there is a better understanding of the importance on focusing on these disparities, especially within the Sustainable Development Goal number 13, which is directly related to environmental justice and climate action. And one of the main indicators of this Sustainable Development Goal number 13 is exploring how global citizenship, education, and engaging youth at an early age and early in their education around middle school, high school especially, will make substantial impacts in attaining that goal and allowing for more environmental justice. And this is really directly related to what we're doing at United Planet and what's happening in Brazil and all of our partner organizations and projects. The Anthropocene describes the current Earth's history when human activity started to have a significant impact on the planet's climate and ecosystems. This is really important to understand because we want to really wrap our heads and focus on human rights as an organization devoted to sustainability and justice and peace, and full participation and implementation of political, social, economic, cultural rights are very important and continue to be fundamental dimensions of human development. But what also really needs to be focused on is the environmental dimension as well. So being able to have environmental justice, which requires changing social relations in society that either hinder universal access to natural resources, land, water, and energy, which lead to unequal distributions of environmental impacts, and exclude indigenous and local communities when decisions are made on forests, water, land rights, and so on. This also focuses on ecological justice. Human use of nature produces massive global environmental change that endangers the safe space for human prosperity. And so allowing for this ecological justice, this environmental justice, and the rights of nature, ecosystems, and other species have to be respected just as much as human rights. And then within this, globability is needed as well. Nature society relations are produced by local and global history and by economic globalization. Local transformation and international cooperation is needed for making societies inclusive in social, economic, and environmental terms. And so allowing global cooperation for sustainable development and really coming together as a globe is necessary, and making sure that we can develop in these areas and make sure that we're moving in the right direction for our futures. And at United Planet, we operate with a mission to create a global community, one relationship at a time. And through travel and virtual quests, you can be a part of this and what it means toward impacting environmental justice in a positive way. As a volunteer, you're becoming a part of something bigger than yourself and contributing to social change, but also developing personally. The 5 pillars of global citizenship are the framework of United Planet and the foundation and underlying guide for all that we do to build relationships and building relationships that are going to be long lasting between communities in the world and with you and for you specifically. And so you are clued in, connected, leading, understanding, engaging, and developing, and to global citizenship and developing your 21st century skills within our true partnerships, like the one in Brazil. Now, a global citizen is someone who is aware of and understands the wider world and their place in it. Global citizens are active and they take an active role in their communities and work with others to make our planet more peaceful, sustainable, and just. And becoming a global citizen is a continuous goal. There is always more to learn in our ever-changing world, including languages, cultures, laws, policies that all vary greatly between the global communities that we live within. Here's a video to visualize this civic engagement and active global citizenship.
Meet Khalid. Khalid loves his neighborhood almost as much as he loves music. He's lived here for 26 years, so he knows these streets. But sometimes he wishes he could change a few things. He's not the only one. Meet Layla. She works for a local organization by day, and she's a community hero by night. Layla's trained as an active citizens facilitator. She's brilliant at bringing people together. They talk, and not just about music, about the big things. It gets Khalid thinking about what makes him him, about what he's got to give and learn from other people in the community. Meet the community. Now they're talking about the changes they'd like to make, and they're gaining new skills to make them happen. Together, they turn an abandoned bus into a library. Edson and Nadia start a community garden. Khalid organizes social events for the elderly. Things happen when people connect. And it's not just here, but across the country and beyond. We are active citizens, working together locally and connecting globally. We believe change can happen through us and not just to us. If you agree, join us.
So just to kind of tie together,
Hey everyone, this is Andy at United Planet, and looks like Elissa, who is in Rome traveling, lost connection. But thank you guys for sticking around this long. I think the best thing to do would be to, I see that some questions have been submitted to Q&A, and Sophia's been answering some of those, but maybe what we could do is open it up for questions. One thing I wanted to just say at the outset is United Planet, we're a nonprofit organization, and we provide volunteer abroad and virtual global programs. And these programs, we offer, basically they help, when you pay for traveling and doing volunteering, which sounds maybe strange, that you would have to pay to volunteer, but you get the opportunity to help the communities that you go to. So the money goes directly to them. And as a nonprofit, we're not in it for business. So I just wanted to throw that out there. When you go to unitedplanet.org and you're taking a look at our programs and you're looking for opportunities anywhere from a week to a year, we have just so many different things, and you don't need prior experience in these areas, right? Especially at your age, your high schoolers or high schoolers going into college. No one expects you to have that kind of experience. So if you want to volunteer, you're going to make a positive impact, but also you're going to take away something yourself, which is a better understanding of another culture and what it's like to live outside of our own little worlds here. So we encourage everyone, again, unitedplanet.org, and Sydney here at NSHSS will give you some more information about how to do that. But anyway, I just wanted to jump in. This isn't usually my job, so I apologize for some of the pausing in my conversation. But anyway, so actually I do see a question from Ashley about how much does it generally cost to volunteer abroad? And that will depend on the duration. So, 1 week to a year. We obviously keep the costs as low as possible. And what's great is that the fee includes, your accommodations, meals. There's activities that you can do depending on the duration. There's language lessons, or you can add on language lessons if it's a shorter program. So Sophia, maybe I'm trying to remember where the low point starts with like a 1 week quest. But I know that virtual ones can start as low as 300, but maybe Sophia, you can help answer that.
Well, it's depend of the program, how long, and the country. So I'm just gonna put in the chat our link so you can see, because we have 4 different programs. So when you get in the link, you can see the short term, where it's the minimum of each country. Then you go to see a midterm, how the countries, and check how long or how many weeks are the minimum, and then is. So I just add the link so you can check this. There is another question about if you can be volunteer during the summer or when your semester starts. And the answer is yes, you can join anytime. We have virtual quest that it's very flexible. So you can check our programs too about virtual quest and see how fit better for you and your schedule. So I'm just gonna add this last link, and here's Elissa, and she can continue with the presentation. So thank you everyone for your questions. They are very great questions. So welcome, Elissa.
Thank you so much, Sophia. Sorry for the internet disconnectivity. And I'm so grateful Sophia could share about those Quest program options and give an overview of what that looks like. For the summer specifically, we have some amazing opportunities to highlight. These are going to be with our virtual internship and virtual volunteer programs, as well as our volunteer and internship abroad opportunities, especially for the short term and midterm, which are going to be 1 week up to 3 months, which is ideal for this summer. And for NSHSS members, you'll have the ability to add a 10% discount on your program participation and fees associated with these, which makes it really great for you to offset the costs and be involved in these programs. To share a highlight of some of our top summer programs, especially related to environmental justice, you can see here we have the Association Action for Education, Law, and the Development of Women and Children in Mali and West Africa. What they do on a daily basis directly involves impacting women and children and the protection and management of their environment and their communities, and focusing specifically to guarantee access to drinking water and promote better hygiene and sanitation conditions for them in their community. And ways that volunteers can support this program, specifically during the summer, with some of their main priorities, are focusing on the topics of supplying drinking water and promoting hygiene and sanitation around awareness building, fundraising campaigns, and program development. But then also within agriculture, developing and supporting market garden areas and the program that they have for market gardening, and participating in the training for people to support this and bring this in their communities, and setting up agro-pastoral centers in the communities in Mali. So these are some really great opportunities to be involved online. But we also have the travel abroad programs. I'd like to highlight best friends and classmates Yaji and Alex, who volunteered in Costa Rica. Yaji said of her experience volunteering abroad in Costa Rica is the single most meaningful service experience I have ever had. We were provided a wealth of opportunities to explore and immerse ourselves in the culture, participated in hands-on learning at the sea turtle conservation in Montezuma, and made lifelong friends from all over the world. This is a really great opportunity, again, to be involved in an organization that's focusing specifically on environmental awareness and sustainability in a hands-on way. We also have a very interesting and fun program this summer during June 14th to August 31st, which is a global health and climate change virtual exchange, where American and Iraqi high school students, maybe yourselves, college students, maybe yourselves, can join us in school teams addressing climate change and the human health impacts. This is an amazing opportunity to learn and gain knowledge on the Sustainable Development Goals, especially that Sustainable Development Goal number 13 that focuses specifically on climate action, and to work with young people all over the United States and Iraq to be able to contribute to the conversation, awareness building, and developing yourself out as a global citizen within this fully funded, which means free of charge to you, online virtual exchange program. This is such a great opportunity, and I'm glad Sophia is sharing those links so that you can enroll. That enrollment for this program is open until the end of the month. And how to stay connected to global citizenship. These are ways to be a global citizen. We want you to continue this because global citizenship is a spectrum. You're never just in one place. You're always growing and moving towards that active citizenship. And we don't want you to leave your experiences as being independent of each other. They should be working together. And you can take your travel abroad experiences or your online virtual experiences into new and exponential growth ways. So participating in the United Planet program is a great first step. But then also being able to connect the work that you're doing and your communities at home, focusing on advocacy, development work, and volunteering locally, and sharing your story publicly so that others can be a part of the conversation and understand, and building out those relationships. When you talk, read, and reflect, you're really doing the best that you can to stay connected as a global citizen. So talking and keeping up those conversations with everyone involved, whether they're your hosts virtually or from your travel abroad programs, or just friends in your community. Reading about and staying connected to these global issues and international news, and reflecting consistently to make sure that you are debriefing on all that you're learning, and you're able to maintain and have your most clear self be a part of this really impactful and important issue area. All of that is tied directly into our mission to foster cross-cultural understanding while addressing our shared challenges through partnerships to unite the world in a community beyond borders. And I want to give a special thanks to Eduardo for joining us today, for Mercy for sharing her insights, and Sophia for being in the chat, and especially for stepping in to share with you all. And from Emmy Schultz, who provided some of this really important environmental information for us to be able to provide for you today. I know that we had some time to answer questions, but we can kind of take a second to see if there are any others that come up. And I would like to thank you so much for joining us today and being involved in this very important conversation. And we hope to have you involved with us so much more in the future. If you have any other questions, please feel free to add those in the chat. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us today and learning more about environmental sustainability, agriculture, and our summer opportunities, the great work and programs that are happening in Brazil, and United Planet, and how you can be more involved.
Thank you, everyone.